you, Bob? How's everything?
I think things should be pretty well in the
Yeah.
Arsenal world, isn't it? I mean, unbelievably, we are still there. Not
Mm.
really at the top now because Cities win, but then we are
Oh.
there at the reckoning.
Mm.
Man, if you had watched yesterday's game, it was sort of. Um, I felt it had the hallmarks of something which was fixed or written a long time back. It was a 1-1 draw until the last minute. I can't quite imagine how could the referee give a foul for that, right?
Yeah, no, it was really infuriating to watch. I was at the pub. I was like, finally, City is dropping points. This is a golden opportunity for us. But I guess now I relate to Liverpool fans a lot. Watching City drop points is an extreme sport. It's not good for the heart, and it sort of also contextualized a lot of things for me because sometimes we've had shaky wins and shaky games. It's like against Southampton and against Leeds, and people are like, "Is Arsenal cracking?" But then it just turns out that if you want to be at the top or near the top, you need a luck here, a luck there, a game which you should be not getting 3 points from, getting 3 points from. So
Hmm.
I guess it whatever works for City. I think I'm not too heartbroken about the games against Leeds or Southampton because sometimes you'll have games like this where you're not supposed to win, but you end up winning. So yeah.
Totally. I think we just have to rely upon our results more than anything, and
Hmm.
just have to keep ticking.
Yep.
And with that being said, it's an all important game that we are going to be discussing today.
Hmm.
It's the game versus Chelsea at that too at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
It's a must-win game. I think
Hmm.
if you look at both the sets of fans, I'm going to be joined in by a couple of fellows from Chelsea.
Hmm.
First of all, we have one waiting, which I'll just quickly add it in.
Hmm.
Hey Vijay from the Sports Wire channel. How are you going, Vijay?
Yeah, absolutely good. Excited for the match, Bob.
Yeah, really. I don't really have that much excitement going into the game because Arsenal are going in top form, and definitely it's something which is going to be pretty interesting. Hey PB, how are you going, buddy?
I'm good, thank you. 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah. What else?
hard work, mate. Seriously. Between the four of us, we are all split in different locations. I'm based out of in Sydney, and then Daksh is in Dublin. Vijay, I suppose, is in India, and then yourself in the US. So,
No, Vijay is also in Ireland, so
Yeah, I'm in
Oh,
Limerick.
which is also in Ireland, yeah.
all right, yeah, okay, nice. Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty interesting game.
Hmm.
What's your earlier thoughts, guys? What does this fixture tell you going into this game? I'll ask you, Prasanna.
like irrespective of how both teams have been faring, I mean, we all know in a derby form goes out of the window, and we have seen in the last few games that Arsenal. I can't remember that. I mean, the last time I would say that Chelsea went into a fixture as not the favorites was probably 2015-16. After that, every time it's probably been Chelsea who have been the favourites, and Arsenal have come out on top many occasions. I mean, the two FA Cup finals, even last season, twice at Stamford Bridge, twice in a row, the 3-0, the league game, and the Carabao Cup semi-finals. So most of the time, Arsenal, they're not like Chelsea have been the favourites, but Arsenal have turned this over. So it could be that case again. Um, given that Arsenal are in great form, Chelsea are not so great form, but you never know. And obviously, Chelsea Arsenal means a lot to me, not like kind of personally, because obviously I have many friends who are Arsenal fans, and we always have this banter, and so it does mean it does mean something to get one over your rivals, and in fact even for us, because we desperately need a win. So we need this win, and what better team to do it than Arsenal.
Arsenal, totally. Even though Arsenal are going into form, it's got all the hallmarks of a classic game. And that being said, Prasanad, we were just discussing before you guys joined in. We were just discussing about yesterday's City game and how the
Yeah.
fact that De Bruyne dived to, in my opinion, yeah, and to get that penalty, to get that win. Seriously, it was a 1-1 game all along. And one of our viewers as well has said the same thing. Had Saka had done that, he would have got an yellow for that thing. What did you guys think about the victory yesterday, guys? Did you watch the game or did you follow it, sort of a thing? Vijay?
Oh, was that for me? Yeah, I haven't followed the game yesterday, but so I let someone else answer the question.
I saw the last few minutes. I did see the penalty. I mean, I see why it could be given. I think De Bruyne played a bit smart. I think he saw the defender come in and he kind of turned. So in a way, if he had to tackle, he could only go from behind. And obviously he never got the ball, and he caught the back of Kevin De Bruyne's leg. So once it was given, there was no chance of it being overturned. If it was not given per se, I don't think that would have been overturned. So it's like you see them given, you see them don't given. But once he gave it, there was no chance of him dance a VAR overturning it, to be fair.
Yeah, possibly. Now, getting back again to this game, as a Chelsea fan, guys, you have to. I mean, could you actually talk us through the transition between Tuchel and Potter? Obviously, when you started off into the season, it was all Tuchel, and then he got the players that he wanted, sort of a thing. Even in fact, including Oba, for example, that's the last signing. We'll be talking more about him for sure. But then, what do you guys feel about it? Any one of you could answer. Just go for it.
I think, see, the way that this transition has taken place was probably in an unexpected time, right? We all know the kind of turmoil that happened with Chelsea the last season. And we know we could have done a lot better by giving Tuchel a chance. But then I think it's also time for Graham Potter to be back. Keeping that aside, the way this transition also took place was, this is one of the manager, like I'm talking about Thomas Tuchel right now. He is one of those managers who stayed with the team when everything was going haywire. And I'm not even kidding. Chelsea's been through that worst situation that as a club you can possibly be, right? When you had offers from Manchester United at that time, PSG at that time, right? We know those teams wanted someone like Thomas Tuchel, and Tuchel decided to stay with Chelsea. I would have expected Todd Bowley to have, given him a longer rope. Also, specifically, if you are an owner, see, that's where it's not that I'm kind of stereotyping here, but when it comes to the American owners, I really feel they need to understand the business, that football works in a different way. I've spoken about this so many times.
He spoke about All-Star game as well.
I know. See, NFL is different. Yeah. Premier League football is different. Here, football is more of an emotion and grassroots level emotion. That's what makes European football a lot different from a lot of other sports. Having said that, when you give a manager throughout the window, a chance to get his own players, I'd expect him to be given more opportunities. Like how you mentioned, Aubameyang was his players. Auba literally wanted to come to Chelsea because he wanted to play alongside Thomas Tuchel, right? Along with Thomas Tuchel. I don't understand the point why he needed to be sacked. I think, President, correct me if I'm wrong, was it like 1 week or 2 weeks after Auba came in, Tuchel got the sack?
One game, 60 minutes.
1 game, right?
60 minutes.
Exactly. So I don't understand the logic behind it, but I also can relate to it. Like, Chelsea was in a situation where we've not performed that bad in a Champions League season before. We were literally on 0 points, and we had RB Salzburg before us. And those are things that doesn't happen to Chelsea, very easily, right? I'm pretty sure Arsenal at this point in time cannot relate with Champions League football. But yeah, having said that,
we have to bring it in, right?
I think it's high time we bring that in, because I think you guys will be in Champions League football the next season, if I'm being honest about it. So we've got like 6 more months for us to, mock you guys about it. So why not utilize the chance when we get it? But that transition was a good one. Graham Potter did make a good inroad. I think we could also say Tuchel lost the dressing room a bit, which was probably the reason why he got sacked. But
one of the reasons, strangely mentioned the fact that Bowley wanted to sign Ronaldo, but then Tuchel was sort of against that idea. that as well paved in, him getting sacked earlier. So yeah, I mean, to add to your point, of course, I think looks like he had lost a bit of a respect in the dressing room, and then the results as well didn't go down his way. I mean, it's a pretty cruel sport, right? Especially the managers. Um, they're merciless, as in, like, the owners are pretty much bang on. When you don't produce results for the 3 games and all those sort of things, you're in pressure already, no matter who you are. I mean, even I find these days that with all the work that Klopp had done, even he seems to be under pressure based on what's been reported by our presses in Twitter and all the other social media platforms. So it's quite a
I think he'll be.
unfair thing.
Sorry to cut you off there. I think he'll be all right if he stops complaining about the grass that he plays in. So,
Yeah.
Klopp is a different. I don't know.
Okay. I'll ask Daksh a question. So, based on the way that we've
Hmm.
started off at Arsenal, what do you think? How confident are you that we would be ending up with the top four? I mean, because we did have a decent start last time around
Hmm.
as well. After probably a disastrous first three
Hmm.
games, one of which was a loss at home against Chelsea.
Yeah.
But then we did obviously at the end of it, missed out on top four, with us missing out or
Hmm.
losing crucial games. So, how do you feel this season is different from the last one?
Well, of course, we are in a much better position. We have a more cohesive team. The identity is very clear to see. But like as Prasanna said, it's a derby and form goes out of the window. Of course, if you remember last season, we lost 3 games in a row before we faced Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and nobody expected us to get anything there. And then we won, and we won, I think 4-2 it was.
4-2,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, so, I mean, we might be at the top of the table. We might be chasing the now league leaders, but I won't take anything for granted. Of course, I'm more confident than I had been in the previous seasons. But, when it comes to these big games, there are certain statistics and occasions I hate. So, if you remember Arsene Wenger's 600th game in charge or something like that, Chelsea beat us 6-0. Now, today is Arteta's 150th game in charge you know so I hate occasions, not to mention that Graham Potter has had a very good personal record against Arsenal, both as a Brighton manager as well as Ostersund's manager. um, Potter's Brighton has beat Arsenal more times than any other Premier League team. you know so in some terms like that, there are some things which are in our favor, which is form, maybe quality of players, less injuries to deal with, probably a better identity. Because I think what Chelsea is suffering from right now is, I don't think Potter is set on his starting 11 yet. There's a lot of changes going on. You could see it from even in the last Champions League game. Zakaria finally playing, Zakaria being good, but then you start questioning why he's not being playing till now if you plan to use him in a Conte like role. Um, so, I think Potter is still trying to figure it out. But as we've seen in our FA Cup win during the lockdown season, as we saw last season, you don't need to be at the top of your game to get a result, especially if the other team is, you know, um, favorites to win, because then you have to take initiative. Even though it's an away game, Arsenal being favorites, we're chasing the league leader, so we have more incentive to attack. And of course, it's games like these where players like Aubameyang and Sterling might thrive. Pace in, we play a high line. Aubameyang, for all his faults, he's a clinical finisher. Sterling himself has a great record against Arsenal. So, on form, yes, I'm confident, but I'm not a superstitious man. But sometimes the signs do tell a story which I'm not liking.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. I think I have similar sort of beliefs as well myself. Graham Potter, as much for the tremendous work that he has done, from all his way from Ostersund's and then as well Brighton. It's quite fitting that he's been put into that role, and as an outsider, if I look at it, he's just the right man for the job, I feel. But then, talking about again the ownerships and all those sort of things and patience, I'm not sure if in case things doesn't go his way, or things doesn't go with the results, if the owners will have the right patience and then stick with him. It's sort of different to how our American owners have dealt with Arteta, because we've had the worst of the starts in last 2 seasons. It's been complete rebuild and all those sort of things, and then we've lost a lot of big personalities in our squad, with Ozil, Oba, and quite a lot. I'll be asking a question more specific around Oba now, because there was actually a comment that he passed out before the game that Arteta is probably not good enough to manage big personalities. Um,
Mm.
Prasanna, if I were to ask you as an opposition, what would you think Arteta like? Do you sort of agree with that comment, sort of a thing, that Arteta doesn't know to manage big personalities from what you've seen so far?
I mean, it was more of like Aubameyang and Pepe, to be fair. I mean, like, um,
Pepe is not a big player for to
but
start with.
still, he was a 72
He was
million
a
pound
record
signing, though.
signing,
Yeah.
yes. No, not a big player, never a big player. I think his transfer fee was overblown. We all
Yeah.
admit that ourselves. That's probably one of the biggest
Okay,
mistakes
but
that I would say.
it was maybe one case too many. I think it was just one case of Aubameyang, because even at that time they weren't like big personalities. They were players on high contracts. They were players on high wages, but they weren't like big players, so to say. And Arteta was more like he was more like focusing on bringing the youth into the team and embedding his own system. And I think, I'm not sure who commented it a long time ago. It was like, you cannot win just with kids alone. And
No.
he did well, to be fair, but you need some experience along with kids. I mean, people refer to the class of '92, but they still had Eric Cantona. They still had other big personalities around them. So uh, obviously he has now brought in the likes of Jesus. Obviously, you've seen Thomas Partey, the way he's like, we know Partey the player he is, albeit he has some injury problems. He's still the player he is. I think Xhaka's, yeah, he's been superb this season ever since he started to play much forward. And Saliba's come back from his loan. I'm not sure why he was sent back out on loan, because he was too good for that league anyway. But now he has come in and he's just showing that why he is, because we saw it with Wesley Fofana, and both of them were together at Saint Etienne. And when Fofana was doing it for Leicester, we were thinking, why could Saliba be any better? Because Fofana was doing it. And obviously, he's come here, he's doing the business. And overall, from front to back, your team looks well set now. It has taken you a while, but in football, every sport, you do need time. You cannot like do it just overnight. Obviously, you have to sacrifice something. You have to sacrifice maybe 2 or 3 years without trophies, maybe some embarrassments here and there. But at the end of the day, it bears fruit. You won't care. So I don't know. Maybe in his case, like some I can only see it as something happened way bad behind the scenes, because
Yeah.
it wasn't starting in his last month. I think December. I think November, December. Correct me if I'm wrong. He hardly played any games. That
Yeah,
November,
yeah, there was.
December, he hardly played any games, and something happened behind the scenes, because something would have happened. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said that. To be fair.
No, totally. I think something pretty bad happened, because immediately after the FA Cup, when Oba signed a new contract, there was actually a lot of um, talks about how Arteta is the best manager that he is working under, and he is thriving and all those sort of things. And then out of that to completely freeze him out from the team, is and that to our captain. Um,
Yeah.
that was completely out of blue for most of
Yeah,
our
and
fans.
him turning up late for training, this, that, the other.
Yeah, so that's not unusual sort of a thing, knowing Oba. I mean, he's got the history of doing that. I'm just I'll just be looking at the time to say, probably I'll just wait for the time when he start doing that at Chelsea as well, because he's got that character in him. Now going into the game, Vijay, there's actually a lot of injuries. More than the actual fit players themselves. It's sort of worrying. I mean, if I compare apples to apples between Arsenal Chelsea, I feel Chelsea has slightly more injuries than what Arsenal first team is all about. So, how do you think that will have an impact on the game?
Um, First thing that we have as an advantage for this year, not just for Chelsea, the entire squad, is that the five substitutions, because that really helps us rotate the players better. Given Chelsea's history with the broader squad, that's something that you'd love to have. Thomas Tuchel, to be honest, did a good job with this five-member squad, and Graham Potter seems to be doing a good one. The concerns that we as fans have is probably not making the substitutions at the right point in time, maybe a delayed substitution at times. But yeah, it's those things are going to anyways happen. But coming to the injury side of it, yeah, we've lost out on Reece James, Wesley Fofana. There are certain strange decisions that have been happening with Chelsea in the last few years. When Reece James cannot finish the entire season, I agree to the statement that Reece James is, if not one of the best right backs, if not the best right back, one of the best right backs in the Premier League, right? And it's still debatable, but then he cannot finish the season without injuries, and this is not something that we've seen for the first time. I would have expected a proper replacement just in his case as well. And the same thing happens for our defenders. Midfielders are stretched thin. The thing that differs from other teams to Chelsea is that our midfielders, we don't have a proper defensive midfielder, sometimes not even a proper cam. Maybe right now Conor Gallagher is trying to do the job. Mason Mount at times does the job properly. So for me, the rather big concern would be how Potter manages the squad than the squad being stretched thin with injuries, because we still have good players who are capable of playing at the top of the game, right? We've got this Conor Gallagher coming out of the blue. Ruben Loftus-Cheek can have a very good day at the office. Same for Trevor Chalobah. We've got the potential. We've got the squad strength. It's not like other teams in the Premier League where we don't have that set of talents that we can bring in from the academy. We all know Omari Hutchinson is available, and a couple of other academy talents as well who can be brought in from the youth squad if that is a requirement. So I personally would not want Graham Potter to be complaining about the squad depth, because you can still give opportunities, but at the same time, the amount that you've invested on these players and them becoming injury prone is a bit concerning.
Totally. And talking about Omari Hutchinson, he is our academy player, but yeah, he's your sort of, he's not from your academy. I'm just clarifying on that.
That's
Just
the
on the
reason
same
why I
note,
brought that up in this show.
I know you have to rub it in, right? Yeah, totally.
No, without a banter, football is nothing, brother.
No, man, not totally. Talking about the same thing for Arsenal, Daksh, there's actually a big concern, or as what is being quoted by all the media houses and everything, that Jesus hasn't scored in last 8 games, and then there's a barren spell going around. How do you see that?
Hmm, you know, it's it's surely some PTSD is there, with some of the striker droughts we've had in the past, all the way from Shamak, Giroud, Lacazette, Aubameyang at times. So whenever your striker is not scoring for a few games, you automatically go into that panic mode. Oh, here we go, another one. Um, but I think what's different is this time we're not relying on one player to bag in the goals. Our goals are actually pretty well spread out with our midfielders and as well as our wingers. So even if it's a concern, it's not that big of a concern right now because he's helping other people score. He's setting up. He's very important in the build-up. You see him dropping off to the halfway line as well at times. If you've seen the last
Yeah,
game,
his,
even
his touches has actually gone from 91 to 60 or something like that. That's how. But then, if you look at on the other side, as you said, so he's contributing in assists. He's dropping back to do some link up play.
Yeah. So I think as a fan, of course, you're right to be concerned, but I don't think from our overall play, I don't think the quality of our players ever dropped down since the first game of the season. I think, of course, we've had a few shaky games, but majority of the times I think I am not really concerned because we are playing well and our other players are playing well. And if maybe Jesus's touches have dropped, I'm not really looked into that. Maybe there has been some sort of makeup in some other players. Maybe Saka's getting more touches. Maybe Martinelli's getting more touches. I remember in the last game, Partey had 123 touches in the opposition half, which is for a defensive midfielder insane. That's more than a touch per minute in the 90. So maybe it's little concerning that our talisman, the player we paid a lot of money for, is not scoring. But I think he's crucial to the build up and he's crucial to the lineup in a few ways which are not directly evident in the stat sheet. Maybe he's part of the ticking, making the ball tick along, getting other players involved, playing somebody in, or even if he's not touching the ball, being some sort of a gravity center that players have to track. So opening up spaces for other players to either play in a ball or take a shot, because everyone knows Jesus is dangerous and he might not be scoring. So sometimes he might just take that player 2 steps away, that may allow us to play a killer ball to one of the other players or other forwards. So he might not be on the score sheet, he might not be doing too well on the stat sheet, but I think for Arteta he's doing exactly what Arteta wants.
Mm.
And just circling back quickly to what Prasanna was said about um about Saliba. Saliba's situation, yes, but I think what Athletic covered was that Saliba had during COVID had lost his parents, both of them, and playing in the Premier League, the kind of scrutiny you get once your form dips. So I think that is one of the better signs of man management from our entire board, to keep him away from the limelight and give him another season to mature. And now he's come in absolutely flying. He's been a very crucial part of it. So I think the question about, Arteta, big personalities, maybe he has some flaws. It's like Pep. You remember when Pep binned off Zlatan and there was a huge cry about it. Maybe some managers are like that they want personalities, but not personalities who consider themselves equal or as big as the club. Maybe Aubameyang was not that way, but if he had a young, impressionable squad, you don't want your captain turning up late to training and it being okay. And if you read El Neni's latest interview, which has been published on Goal, you see him saying that once Arteta binned off Aubameyang, the entire squad was scared that if he can do that to the captain, then we have very little margin of error. So it sort of instituted this flat hierarchy where there are no egos and players are willing to learn and work for one another. And today we have that team. So yeah, going back to Jesus, not really concerned. We're playing well. But yeah, goal would be really good.
Talking about one, yeah, of course, I would agree with you on Jesus that it's never to be concerned about. And I'm happy. I mean, his press is amazing, man. Seriously, that's been the best that we've got in a long time. Honestly, we've played with Giroud up front. No offense to you guys, but yeah, Giroud and Shamak and all those sort of players, even Lacazette for an extent. Lacazette was actually helping the team, but then we know that he was not the striker that Arsenal, had to rely upon going into games. Even the last win against Chelsea at the Bridge, that was purely Nketiah and Emil Smith Rowe. I mean, Smith Rowe has been scoring in the last two fixtures there at the Bridge, but unfortunately, he's going to be missed out. I just want to quickly touch upon the other injuries and potential returns. So we've been having scares of Saka. Hopefully he had recovered from that knock there against Forest, and then we saw him on the bench against Zurich. And similarly, so Tommy looks like a muscular injury, still not known if in case he's going to start. We'll get to know the lineups in a minute, then we'll talk about more on that.
No,
But
no, I
then
don't think he's starting. The Arsenal official page, they did this sort of a mini preview, and they said that he looks set to
Chelsea's
miss
team
out on
news is
this.
out.
he's
Chelsea's?
out.
Chelsea,
Chelsea's team is
yeah,
out.
our team news is out. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys want to talk about it? Go
yeah.
for it.
I'll go for it. So Mendy, Aspilicueta, Chalobah, Thiago Silva, Cucurella. So that's a back four. Jorginho, Loftus-Cheek, Mount, Sterling, Havertz, Aubameyang. Okay. So I'm guessing that's a 4-3-3 in itself.
Wow.
Yeah, possibly. Four at the back.
Arsenal, Ramsdale, White, Gabriel,
Zinchenko
Saliba,
backs.
Zinchenko, Partey, Xhaka, Odegaard, Saka, Jesus, Martinelli. Expected.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, Zinchenko, he was back. That was actually the biggest news, and
Yeah.
that will actually change the whole team's formation. As much as the fact that Tommy has been good in that left back role that he's been doing, Zinchenko is the first man. I mean, I
Mm.
would put him even more than Tierney. I mean, this is sort of unpopular opinion because many of
Mm.
them would want Tierney there, just for actually the passion and all those sort of things that he shows on the pitch. But I feel Zinchenko is more an all round player, I would say, because he could potentially slot into that midfield sort of things
Mm.
as well if we decide to change the shape of the team during the middle of the game. That's a massive news
Mm.
for him to be back. Um, yeah, no, just checking in the subs. I think Tommy is completely out.
Mm.
Tommy is not there in the subs, so it looks like it's sort of a precautionary measure, considering we're just a couple of games away from the World Cup. So yeah, what's your initial thoughts, guys? Chelsea lineup
Yeah, let's go for Chelsea lineup first. Yeah.
expected, surprising.
I think most of it was expected, to be honest. Mendy had to be there, had to start because Kepa was injured anyways. Aspilicueta starts, Cucurella starts. I'm telling you guys right now, those are the areas that you guys are going to, exploit because
Mm.
that left back and right back cannot do shit. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult because Chalaba is not physically.
I'm not sure if
Sorry,
it's a back three or a back four though, because if the Chelsea the way this is structured, this looks like a back three of Aspi, Thiago Silva, and Chalaba.
I
But
mean technically RLC can also play a wing back if that
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Yeah,
That is
right.
what
So
I would be very surprised if you guys are playing a back four, considering, Martinelli versus Aspilicueta. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to double up on that right flank and maybe even that left flank. You would have
Yeah,
to.
so I think playing back three, I think Loftus-Cheek and Aspi would, because
Yeah.
if not, Martinelli will skin both. Bottle will skin us.
Yeah.
exactly, and Saka as well on the other side. It's not
Hmm.
going to be easy.
Yeah,
Kukurea is quick, I get that, but he is not aerially strong.
yeah.
Saka's good both aerially as well as, and he's a lot quicker.
Hmm.
And if there's going to be long balls thrown on that left flank, Kukurea is not going to win any of those,
Hmm.
right?
I
So
remember the game against Brighton at the MX. Kukurea, I think that was just the time that he's just started off. He gave us a horrible time, man. Seriously, we could not break him. That
But
guy
Bob,
was
as
unbelievable.
Spurs have shown us, the only way to stop Kukuraya is to pull his hair in your own box, and the ref won't do anything about it.
yeah, we also how that worked out for Chelsea. Um, Mason Mount, Jorginho, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek starts again if he's playing on the wing back. Not sure, See, again, I'll be a bit concerned on that right flank, even if Ruben Loftus-Cheek decides to support Aspilicueta, because either of them are not quick. Yeah, Ruben is strong, but he's not quick. So that's a lazy flank right there on the right flank. Jorginho, he's required for this team. People in Chelsea, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard this in Twitter or wherever channels that you go. People always slander Jorginho for the negatives that he
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's going to
He
be let
has.
out on free, man. Seriously, I can't wonder.
I'm telling you today, I'm telling you right now, without Jorginho, this team cannot survive, right?
Hmm.
If you don't bring a Declan Rice or someone of top quality to manage this midfield,
Hmm.
Jorginho is basically your, they call him the registrar. He is
Hmm.
probably going to dictate the play. You can see always him, raising his hands, dictating the entire defense and also coordinating with the attack. The number of vertical balls that Jorginho still, in comparison with top teams, might be lesser, but he is the only one who's capable of putting on those vertical balls. Kovacic only drives forward. He's not very quick. He's not very good in those vertical deliveries again. But coming to the lineup once again, Sterling, Havertz, and Aubameyang. Not a very strong back. Front three as much as it looks in the paper. Havertz has been out of form for quite some time. Aubameyang really has to get his act going, because the way that he spoke in the pre-match, I know there's going to be a lot of expectation on him from the Chelsea side, and Arsenal fans are coming for him. Sterling, On the other side, again, not very successful, partially because he had to work out on the wing back situation.
Mm,
At times, you wouldn't want, anyone who's seeing Sterling, you wouldn't want Sterling to be playing as a wing back. You
mm,
wouldn't want Sterling
Hmm.
to be the right extreme player. He's not going to be of any use playing in that extreme right flank. Maybe him on the edge of the box is where you want him, right? Because that's where he's going to score from. That's the difference between the Champions League game that he had,
mm,
the previous one, and the game before that, where he was playing a right wing back. You saw the difference clear cut. He scored for this Champions League
mm.
game. Regardless, even if he had not scored, that was still a very good game for him because
Yeah.
he played in his right position. So
Right.
I think Sterling needs to be playing in inside near the box. I don't want him to play wing back, but from the looks of it, I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing the wing back.
Yeah, yeah, potentially. Now, coming to Arsenal, Daksh, so we know. I mean, as we've seen this season, we've been scoring some early goals, sort of a thing, almost every game. But
Mm.
then this is, it looks like the tale of two halves, sort of a thing. We don't know what sort of an Arsenal is going to turn up in the second half.
Oh yeah.
Personally, for me, if you had asked me, well before the matches happened, how would have been the result against Forest and Zurich? I would have said, maybe I would have said 1-0 Arsenal against Forest, and then 5-0 against Zurich. But
Mm.
then the other thing happened literally, and teams have been. I mean, even I would say more than the bigger teams, the smaller teams have been having much more, sort of on control against us, especially in the second half. So how do you see Arsenal approaching this game, Daksh?
I think from the lineup, it's pretty clear that we intend to play on the front foot. I am always of the personal opinion that Zinchenko, whenever he's available, play him, because you never know when he might not be available. He might play this game and then he be out for a month, and next month we might see him again. Um, he brings a very different dimension. I think his first game for Arsenal was against Chelsea in preseason, where he was really good. So
Florida Cup.
yeah, so it's great to have him. It's going to bring a new dimension to us. Um, you're right about the whole thing, and I think that basically boils down to us being a confidence team. I think one goal is not enough for our team in terms of belief and confidence. You could see that in the Forest game as well. That game ended first half 1-0.
Hmm.
We should have scored plenty of more.
Yeah.
But the second we get that second goal, everything changes. Everything changes. Our team plays with a lot more freedom and a lot less fear. And I think what's going to be important in this Chelsea game is what was important in that Liverpool game, which is having a fast start. Now, of course, I don't expect us to score within the first minute or first 2 minutes, but getting an early goal against this Chelsea would be huge because, um, frankly, for me in this Chelsea lineup, Mount and Sterling will be very key because Zinchenko, as forward thinking he is, he leaves a lot of space behind. And not to mention the very recent error proneness of Gabriel on the left centre back position as well. So, Sterling, like Vijay said, he's been playing right wing back, so his talents are not really being utilized. But if you give him space to run into, he has that instinct. He has one of the best scoring records for City, and that's not down to sheer luck. He just gets into those positions where it's very easy to score. And if players like Mount, maybe Jorginho can find him, um, it's going to be very interesting. For Aubameyang as well, it's going to be a test for Saliba. And it's going to be very interesting to see him play against White and Saliba and Partey also playing a role. So I think it's going to be very important. Partey is fit, which is good. I mean, it wasn't really a doubt, but you never know. Sometimes he just has a niggle or an injury or something.
Hmm.
So Partey playing is good. He gives a great control in that midfield, and you've seen against in the Europa League, whenever Partey or most of our first team players don't play, there's a huge drop off in quality and a build up.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally. And
so
that's
it's
more I'm worried about. The first
yeah,
11 looks so good,
yeah.
but then if you take out one or two players, the whole thing changes.
Yeah, and I think that's got to do with confidence, You have your first 11 who's playing with such great confidence, and once you're deputizing for one of those players, you don't want to be the one responsible for being a snag in this well-oiled machine. So it's probably got to do a lot with confidence, a lot to do with match sharpness. But coming back, it's a very forward attacking first 11.
Hmm.
The counter can be our worst enemy, and of course, Arsenal's biggest enemy is Arsenal itself. So let's hope no stupid mistake, no penalties, no red cards. I think there is a penalty in this game. I hope it goes Arsenal's way though.
Right, is Zaka playing?
Ishaka playing, but I don't. He's not.
Obviously, he's been their best player this season.
Yeah, but he's not been this error prone. He's actually so far away from the box now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna give. It's probably going to be like a dodgy handball or a Gabriel mistake or something. Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. So let's see. Hopefully, I just hope for both of our fan bases' sake, the game is refed properly. It's Michael
I
Oliver,
know,
I
man.
think.
We need a fair ref.
Yeah,
Be it
it's
whatever the result, I think the ref needs to be fair, man. It's been crazy,
because
seriously.
it feeds into the narrative, right? If Arsenal get a decision against them, we're all going to point to the City game and be like, "Oh, we weren't given this," or Chelsea were given this. And if, of course, Chelsea get a result against them, of course they're going to take it. But then the narrative would be that if Arsenal get a result, Arsenal get a dodgy penalty, it's going to be, "Oh, Arsenal were helped by a referee," and if Chelsea get a refereeing decision, of course they're going to take it, but Arsenal fans are going to be up in war cry that City gets all the decisions, etc.
Here's one thing I would say about refs. So, if you are a good enough team,
Mhm.
irrespective of however bad the ref is, you will not let that one decision or one or two decisions affect your game.
That's yeah.
Because I see in the Aston Villa game, I think it was Aston Villa, Mings literally holds Saka here. He literally like, pulls him
Mm.
Yeah,
down. I
yeah.
think it was very early in the game. What was it?
Yeah,
First 10 minutes, something?
yeah, yeah,
But you went on to win the game. So you don't really complain about it. Whereas if that's the only
yeah,
thing, if that is the only chance you create,
yeah,
you will end up complaining. So
Yeah,
instead
true.
of just looking at that one moment, looking at the other
yeah.
89 minutes, where you could have created a lot more and you should have scored.
Mm.
That's how I see it. Because
Yeah,
if you point down your defeat or a draw to the ref, then in a way you're saying that you're not a good team and you're
mm.
depending on the ref to win your game.
Yeah.
That's how
No,
I
but
see
Preston,
it.
I agree.
Preston,
Yeah, sorry.
I, yeah, go on, go on.
Sorry. I was just gonna say that the thing with Arsenal is a young team. It's a very emotional team, and we lose our heads really quickly when things don't go our way. Which is why I'm saying the second we score a second goal, we stop playing without we start playing without fear, and which is why you're right about you bang on about one moment should not decide your game, if especially from an Arsenal perspective, if you're competing for the top spot. But
Hmm.
that's the thing. That's the only worry I have. This young team is a very emotional team, and when things don't go their way, it's not only the players. The manager loses his head. If you remember the United game, the second we equalized, instead of managing, maybe
Yeah, it was
refocusing a little
naivety.
bit,
It was naivety.
yeah, we threw all the attackers and we literally conceded almost immediately after. So in this emotional team, we kind of need a lot of things to go our way, which is why but Prasanna is absolutely bang on. I'm so sorry, Vijay, please continue.
No worries. What I just wanted to point out there was, I think, Preston, I would probably disagree with your point in this aspect, right? Football for me is more about moments and momentum, right? And your decision, the referee's decision, kind of decide the momentum most times. Yeah, I get your point. We shouldn't be complaining about it, but we also how Anthony Taylor can really influence a Chelsea game, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's not just Anthony Taylor. We've got other referees who do the same for other teams as well. I just gave Chelsea as an example, and Anthony Taylor, who's been doing that for a long time. But on another
This
side
was
also,
ridiculous when this ran past even this was ridiculous. I mean,
Seriously, man. I
Yeah.
just lost my head there. Seriously. Many
You see,
Arsenal-
that's the thing, right? But it doesn't get bigger than Michael Oliver when it comes to refereeing in Premier League. At least that's what I think. Oliver's been pretty decent in terms of the refereeing than the other referees that we have around. It's not that Oliver is a great referee; it's just that the other referees are even worse than this, right? So fair enough that we got Oliver today. If it was Anthony Taylor, I won't even bother watching the game. So referees do have an impact.
Guys, now that the lineup is sort of out, I just wanted to ask you a question. I'll come to all of you actually. Who would you guys point out as the danger men from both sides?
for me,
Prasanna, go for it.
Martinelli and Xhaka. Martinelli and Xhaka.
Xhaka, yeah.
Yeah, because Xhaka has been superb, and the way the game is won or lost is in the midfield. And your midfield compared to us, it's actually it's kind of like poles apart. If because in our midfield, when we lose the ball, if Jorginho is the last man in midfield, that's the last thing I want because he's not quick and he gets bypassed too easily. We saw with Zakaria's game, even though it was Zagreb, we lost the ball and within like 2-3 seconds, man sprinting back and he won the ball back. So in that way, I would have preferred Zakaria to start, but we all know he had a knock, so we don't want to like force him. Same thing with Kovacic as well. I think the problem with Kovacic, Kante players like that is we have
Yeah.
forced them back. We have forced them back when in ideally we should have strengthened or bought other players. And that is why we have Kante out for this long period of time because last season even Tuchel once said that we were irresponsible to bring him back this early. And we have literally overused him, which is why he's out for this long of time. So,
Yeah.
and again, Kovacic, we have overused him. Dennis Zakaria, one game.
He's back, right? I was expecting him to start Kovacic.
Yeah, it's a shocker for us also. Kovacic is
Yeah,
actually back, but it's not in the squad.
Yeah, but I
mean-
think he still had signs of showing here and there. And we clearly showed that we have been overusing him and he has been rushed back when we should have been easing him into the team. And that comes down to not enforcing properly in the DM area. I mean, you look at Man United, the way they got Casemiro and the way he's balling out. We should have been all over Casemiro. And are you telling me that if we had bought Casemiro, wouldn't we be in a better situation than we are in right now?
Prasanna,
Obviously,
the worst part of it was that we didn't even know Casemiro deal was going through after that.
Exactly. The United
What
were like,
happened?
get him from
Yeah.
Madrid. Simple.
Yeah. But I mean, personal opinion still for him, the price that they paid, they almost overpaid for almost all their players that they got through this window.
I mean, as long as they work out well for you, you don't care about the price tag. Only if it goes bad, like a Harry Maguire or
See, I belong to Wenger School of Economics, buddy. So sorry, my opinion is always based on cost and all those sort of things. That's right.
That is good.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Vijay, who do you
Go
think?
for it. Go for it, Daksh. Bring
Okay,
in
okay.
an alternate view.
Right. So for me, the Dangermen, like I said, Mount and Sterling. But I also think Thiago Silva, he may be old and in the last game against Brighton, he did commit a few mistakes. But he's as solid as they come. I mean, at this age, consistently playing well at the top level. I think you remember in the United game when Lisandro Martinez, apart from a few moments, effectively marked out Gabriel Jesus. I think Thiago Silva is more than capable of doing that. And maybe if Koulibaly was playing for Chelsea, I'd be even more scared because that's a pretty solid defensive backline. And that's the thing. If they have a solid defense, we'll get more desperate to score, which means we'll leave ourselves open to a lot of vulnerable situations, especially with Gabriel being a little error prone. And like I said, initially, I mean, of course, at the outset, I'm confident about our style of play, but anything can happen. About Aubameyang, I won't be surprised if he gets a goal. But
That's
I mean,
on the lips of
kind of
every
written in
Arsenal
the
fans,
script, right? It's kind of written in the script. These kind of things always happen to Arsenal. But
One
for
thing
me,
with Auba I would say is he needs service. He's not someone like a Hurricane who drops back and
No.
engages with the play. He
We know
needs
that
to be.
ourselves, buddy. We
Huh?
know that well and clear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Just
You would
stay
know.
on.
You know that. I mean, and he's not even he's still quick, but he has lost a few yards of pace. He wasn't the Aubameyang that came into Arsenal. Like he burst of pace.
yeah,
He would just go past you within a split second. But he needs service in and on the box, and so if as long as you kind of mark him out of the game, and as long as you block service to him, I think you should be fine. Unless
yeah.
we saw like he likes to cut in and unleash a shot. Brighton, the keeper made a save, and against Zagreb he hit the post. So apart from that, and if you mark him out, and if you stop the midfield from servicing to him, effectively mark him out of the game.
That would be an interesting battle. Saliba versus Oba.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on paper, Saliba's quicker than him. He's a little taller and stronger than him as well.
Yeah.
So, but last season at Stamford Bridge, we let Timo Werner score against us with his weaker foot. Even though if it was a deflected shot and everything, I remember. But
Bro, we let
Timo,
Nketiah score twice against
yeah,
us.
you said
Come
and
on.
get your score to us. To be honest, yeah, that is
At
also
least
fair
Timo
enough.
Werner had a good run of form till then. I mean, he scored against Madrid, he scored against Southampton. At least he had something. Nketiah he was hardly starting, and then we came on,
I
and
think that was his
Christensen was
first
like,
start. Actually,
"Here,
that was his first
um,
start.
take a goal, Charity FC."
Those two goals actually made us, offer him a new contract.
Yeah, exactly.
And the number 14 shirt.
Ah,
Number 14, Chad as well.
Yeah, I think it's time for Vijay's Dangermen.
Uh, should the Dangermen necessarily be from Arsenal, or I could just say Chalaba and be done with it? I mean,
like they
the
say in
reason
Tamil, எதிரிங்க வெள்ளை இல்ல உள்ளே இருக்காங்க.
exactly the reason why I was asking that was because you mentioned Thiago Silva is going to be on Gabriel Jesus, but I think Jesus is still clever enough to move sideways and
Hmm.
ensure that he's with Chalaba and not with Thiago Silva. With Thiago Silva,
Hmm.
you're not getting past him. You know that. So if he is if he's good enough to deal with Chalaba, and I for sure think that he is very good against people, tall, lanky defenders like Chalaba, because he's extremely quick and agile.
Hmm.
That's where I think Chalaba could be put on the spot, and he's not that um, you know I wouldn't really call it intelligent enough. I'm still saying, he's not experienced enough to deal with
Hmm.
a top quality striker like Gabriel says. So, back four system, which means that we have to have Thiago Silva and Chalaba. If it is a back three, then again, probably Chalaba, Jesus can go here and there. So, Chalaba would be probably a place where, I would consider as a danger man from our side. But from your end, I'd say Saka on that Kukureya's flank. I'm pretty sure he's going to run riots
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
I think our left flank would have a role today,
Yeah.
especially with the fact that Zinchenko is back. It makes a world of difference, and I feel that Gabriel would actually, sorry, Jesus up front would actually get a better supply than what he's been getting
Hmm.
under Tommy. Tommy is more defensive sort
Yeah.
of a fullback. So I feel Zinchenko would be bombarding there down the left flank, and then he would sort of terrorize both Martinelli and Jesus as well up front.
Hmm.
Now there's this stat going on, and this is true.
Yeah.
Top. I mean, an away team is yet to win there. In between top six. You have almost, you could have probably. I think the closest that you came was conceding that last minute goal against United at home.
Yeah.
We Arsenal could have maybe
No,
got
but
a
in terms of saying the away team is yet to win.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that was more like home teaming. Away team,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, that was the home game, right? Yes,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we maybe could have got a different result against United, but then, as what Daksh pointed out, we put all our attacking players in that day, and then that led us to us, losing 2 goals on the counter.
Hmm.
But I mean, talking about that, I sort of think, maybe we've got an error in us, when I'm looking at Arsenal, especially in bigger games. I don't think we have the maturity to sort of come and put a performance that no matter whatever the decision goes against or
Hmm.
whatever which happens to us, still we'll manage to play better and then
Hmm.
win with our football. I don't really have that confidence with
I
Arsenal.
would say this though. Sorry to cut you off. I would say this though. Like when Arsenal are not expected to win, you would probably see them put in a better performance. When they are
Sort of.
expected to win, you would see
Maybe the
like
pressure gets too much on them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
like even like Arsenal this season, if you can get them, it's probably away because United away, obviously. Leeds United second half, I think you were absolutely dominated. Second half, Leeds dominated you. Me,
Hmm.
and that missed penalty in water. And Southampton second half, they dominated you. PSV all game you were taken apart. So you can be got at. It's not like if this was at the Emirates, it would be a different story. Obviously, you've been superb with at the Emirates. Like it's been like a fortress. It's always been like a fortress for you. So
Hmm.
away, you can be definitely got at, and And if we can neutralize probably the first 20-25 minutes, because we all know Arsenal like to start quick. They like to no nonsense start. It's not like we start a bit slow, whereas Arsenal start a bit quick. So, and given that we have Mendy, who is probably weak with the speed, and
Mm.
if Gabriel Jesus gets one on him, if he starts pressing, then we could probably have a few issues over there.
Hey, one more important stat, maybe not very specific to the topic that you guys are talking on, but I think it's still a very important and integral stat, is that Arsenal have scored 11 times in the first 30 minutes, maximum by any Premier League teams, which means that they're going to run on high energy at the start.
Yeah.
Right? So first 30 minutes, defending against Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, it's not going to be an easy job. But if we get through that 30 minutes, we might see a regression in terms of how they attack, because another interesting stat is that after 60 minutes they tend to slow down and concede every time, and it's not a good sign for Arsenal when it comes to an entire league. But I think that is where Chelsea needs to have their best players in place, and that's where I think players like Koulibaly, Conor Gallagher, who runs regardless, and he is available on the bench, which means he can come after 60 minutes and keep pressing there, because he's a very good person when it comes to press. Him and Mount have been exceptionally good in terms of pressing. So Conor Gallagher is going to be an important person as well. And Christian Pulisic, Broja, they're all extremely quick. Broja is the quickest attacker that we have by far, according to at least Raheem Sterling. So, these people after 60 minutes, if they can come in, that's where I think Broja's substitution will be integral. And he's always been this 80th minute man, 84 minute, 85 minutes. You don't want Broja to come at 85 minutes. You want him to come at 60 minutes, right? And he's got that potential to play for the next 30 minutes, but somehow Graham Potter doesn't get that right. And it's always been 85 minutes. You wouldn't want Kai Havertz to be on the pitch for 80 minutes, because after 60 minutes, he's not doing anything, right? So I think these players after 60 minutes is going to be important. And that's where I think I'll agree with Daksh's point. One goal lead would still be putting Arsenal on a nervous position at the end of 60 minutes. Maybe two would be a lot more comfortable for them. But Chelsea need to hold their horses until 60 minutes, ensure that it's a 0-0, and after that they probably can attack with these new players coming in. That would be my strategy for the game.
If you see holding warming up on the sidelines, then it means that Arsenal or Arteta is planning to wind down things. So I mean that's been the case. I mean, strangely to Arsenal fans, we find ourselves pretty much attacking teams in the first half, only for us to completely shut ourselves and then drop deep in the second. It's sort of baffling, because it's the same set of players. I mean, albeit with one or two changes, once after 60 minutes or so. But still, I feel that the mentality shouldn't change drastically as much as what we've been seeing. And it's the second half Arsenal that I'm more worried about than the first half, because I mean that's where we need to.
You could see that. You could maybe say that in the first half you got so out attacking that you effectively blow out after 60 minutes. You effectively are like running on
fumes.
Your tank is almost dead after like 60-70 minutes. So
I mean, I'd also have another question that I want to put to you guys, which is more on the transfer. Do you guys think for the winter transfer window you guys should consider improving your squad depth because of the same reason?
We've been considering that even for the summer window, but then we couldn't get all that we wished for, right? We necessarily we knew the fact that going into the season we have a midfielder short, and then the fact that we wanted a winger as well. You spoke about Vijay. You spoke about Armando Broja. I mean, he's a beautiful player, and had he, I mean, I don't know, maybe if Arsenal have been bargained about him, I don't know how Todd Boehly would take that on. But then I felt that we could have snapped him up. We could have sort of lured him with more chances. We did put our eggs in Rafinha. That didn't work out, but then we stopped with that. I felt that we could have. I mean, now was an opportunity for us to have got a winger and then potentially a midfield backup as well, knowing Partey's injury and all those sort of things. What do you feel, Daksh?
Yeah, I've said it in my own video that staying top, I mean, staying top or top two until the World Cup is going to be crucial for us, because it will give Arteta the necessary ammunition to go to the owners and say, give me 50 million, give me 100 million, let me bolster the squad. you can see what I can do with a bare bone squad. But now, if you see City, I mean, bringing off Haaland off the bench is shameful, to be honest. Okay, that is a level of shamelessness that I have not seen. If you have a Bernardo Silva who's getting tired, who do you bring on? Riyad Mahrez. Who else do you bring on? Phil Foden. Like, it is
Jack
speaking
Grealish.
Jack
Gundogan.
Grealish. Taking off Jack Grealish, fine. Who do you bring on? Phil Foden. Oh, jeez. So, like, you know, but jokes aside, to compete with the City team, you do need a lot of reinforcements, and you can see it's starting to affect some of the players. Saka went down injured a couple of games ago, and he couldn't play the full 90 against Zurich, which is rightly fine. It's a good decision. But you can see he's being targeted. He pulled up against Nottingham Forest, and thankfully, the quality of Nottingham Forest wasn't that great that we did not need to rely on him. And Reece Nelson ended up having a great game. But that's not going to work against City. That's not going to work against Chelsea or Liverpool or United. You can't bring on Reece Nelson, who's not played for nearly a year, against quality opposition. You need a
Maybe it's maybe after this game we don't know. After this game, that Nelson might score, and then we would offer him a new contract, just like
I,
how they.
I think we will offer him a new contract, and it's got nothing to do with anything except I think Arteta sees potential in him, and we need to preserve his value. He's the OG Saka, to be honest. Right? He was the highest rated Haaland Academy product before his playing time went south. That being said, though, staying top would be great for Arteta, would be great for Edu to go to the owners and ask for more money, get Danilo or any central defensive midfielder for our team, because we see the fall off from Partey. Get a winger as backup for Saka. Get a versatile winger who can play on both wings. You know, essentially see what we need, but it all boils down to the last two games right now, I think. And if after this we don't get the players we have to, then I think it's again shooting ourselves in the foot like we did last season, putting ourselves in a great position, but just eventually running out of bodies to put on the field who can do the job. So at the moment, the best thing we can do is win our last two games before the World Cup. Of course, the Carabao Cup as well. Um, and then put ourselves in a position to go into the transfer window, because you can sell the project to the players, saying that you are coming to a team which is top of the league, or you're coming to a team which is fighting for the title. Do you want to be a part of this project, etc., etc.? But if you lose momentum and everything, then it becomes much more difficult, because then you have to offer ridiculous money, and you find yourselves in positions that we did a few years ago.
Mm,
Overpaid players who are not playing for the team, who's playing for the check.
yeah, yeah. With now all of these things being
Okay,
discussed.
guys, I have to drop off. Sorry. I'll catch you guys soon. Thank you for having
Right.
me.
Okay.
Hope catch
So
you soon.
yeah, see you,
Thank you,
Prasanna.
man. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
I was gonna actually finish it off by asking
Yeah.
you the predictions,
Hmm.
and Prasanna unfortunately had to drop off. But
Yeah.
then I'll start with you, Vijay. Um, how do you what would do you think the predictions or the scoreline is going to be?
I think Arsenal are definitely going to score.
Mm,
But being a Chelsea fan, I cannot predict Arsenal win. So I'm going to say a 2-1, but it's I wouldn't be surprised if it's the other way around, right?
Hmm.
So 2-1 to Chelsea. We're going to score. Probably the goals are going to come from Aubameyang, like Daksh mentioned, it's written in the script. I would be surprised if that doesn't happen. So Auba and Mason Mount, probably that's what I'd go with. 2-1. I think Saka scores for you, regardless.
Hmm.
Something is pestering me inside.
What about you, Daksh?
My heart says 3-1 to Arsenal, but my mind says a 2-0, a 2-2 draw.
Mm,
So I think it's going to be a game of close margins, and I think uh, we'd come out a little frustrated that we did not end up winning the game. But I think a draw, like, it's the stats, it's just that we've not won a game against the big six away. We saw what happened at United. It just takes a player to be on song. That day, Eriksen and Bruno were on song. This today, if Jorginho can play in Aubameyang, can give the service to Aubameyang, can give the service to Sterling, can give service to Havertz, um, I, I I can see Chelsea doing well against us. So I'm going to go for a 2-all draw.
yeah. I have a sort of a different sort of thing. I feel that we'll end up in a heroic defeat. Uh, I mean,
Being
which is
realist, are we?
okay. See, I mean, if I answer from my heart, yes, I would want Arsenal to win,
Hmm.
of course. But then, if I were to be very pragmatic, I think Potter has a knack against setting up. I
Yeah.
mean, setting up teams against bigger teams, bigger oppositions, especially. He's been steadfast in doing that since quite a
Hmm.
long time, as we know. And knowing him, I feel that he would actually tinker with his formation, tinker with his tactics, and all those sort of things, and then he would set up the team to sort of frustrate us. And especially knowing the fact that we've been sort of slowing ourselves down in the second half
Hmm.
for whatever reasons, I feel there is an odd error in us that will concede.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I feel we'll lose 1-2. I still feel we have the quality to score a goal, but then we'll fall short is what I think. If we can somehow manage to come out with a draw or a victory, that would be more than welcome. Seriously, even a draw would be a pretty good
Yeah.
result
And
considering
let's
Arsenal.
not forget, it's very important for Chelsea to win as well because their last two games are very huge. Once against Arsenal and next against Newcastle, the new top four, part of the new top four as of now. So for them, it'd be very crucial after that Brighton humbling to build some momentum before that game and end the pre World Cup season on high.
Yeah,
So
and
I
we've got
don't
a
think
cup
they'll be.
game.
Sorry?
We've got a cup game
We've got
against
a
Man
cup
City
game
as well.
against City as well. So, and City take the Carabao Cup more seriously than the Champions League. So, it is important for Chelsea. I don't expect them to sit back and just take a beating. I think they're going to be on the front foot as well. But of course, I think they'll be a little more pragmatic. Like I said, if we start like we started against Liverpool and we score within the first 10 minutes, this could have a very good result for us.
Okay, okay. That's it, guys. That's what I had
Mhm.
all to discuss. If you until or unless you guys have anything more to raise or bring upon, then we'll call it an end.
Just one question to Vijay. How has Chelsea's results been against the top six this season? How many top six teams have you guys played till now?
Okay, I might not have the statistics handy with me, but then we've played and won
United.
nothing against top six.
You've not
We
won
haven't won
anything.
any. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
played United, I remember, but then who else did you play with? Did you play?
We
Spurs they played, which there was a
um,
dodgy decision at the end. You know that Tuchel
Oh, that's
Conte
right.
fight.
Yes, that handshake. Yes, I can't forget
Yeah.
that. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, again, top six and Forest, Tottenham. No, so yeah, we haven't had much success in the top six.
Yeah.
I mean, and to be honest with you, Chelsea has never had top six success in league, at least when it comes to
Hmm.
these games, right? We are good with cup competitions, but when it comes to the league, we are
Hmm.
ready to even forego those games, but we'll still end up winning the league or something of that sort
Hmm.
because we are pretty good with those bottom teams as well, and we can Chelsea's called Heart Attack FC for a reason. Right? We win at 1992. um, yeah. Will Alba make an impact today? Yeah,
I
I
think the
really wish he
unanimous
makes it
decision is
possible.
yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you
Life is a
spoke at your
smash
length.
life film, and Aubameyang will do something.
See, this is what I'm going to tell, right, regarding Aubameyang. He's going to make an impact, but is it going to be positive for Arsenal or Chelsea? That's something that we'll have to wait and see.
Oh. I think Aubameyang is a big game player. Like whenever he's played for us, he's always showed up for the North London derby, right?
Yeah.
And he is a big game player. And whenever he has a thing to prove, no, he has that extra edge in him. And now he's going to be playing in front of Arteta, so you never really know what happens.
Yeah.
Totally. No, I agree with you, Dakshi. No, he's definitely a big game player. I sort of remember, what Giroud did once he went there to Chelsea. I mean,
Thank
he
you,
didn't. He
Arsenal.
didn't. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Arsenal. He said after the Europa
Oh,
League win. Yeah.
that was a game that I could not forget, man.
Oh,
Especially that goal there.
he's come a long way from that team, by the way. Yeah, Mustafi and Socrates and everything.
Banter era, peak of banter era.
Peak
Yes.
banter.
Okay,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you very much for the chat. It was lovely having this convo, and I wish we'll convene some other time and then
Yeah, of course.
carry this forward. It was lovely chatting with all of you guys.
Of course, yes.
Um, may the best
Absolutely.
team wins. May the
Yeah.
best team wins.
Yeah, yeah. And
All
hopefully
right,
that is
guys.
Chelsea before I leave.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All
See you
right.
all later. Thanks.
See ya. Bye.
Yeah.